atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The United States detonated two nuclear weapons over the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki on August 6 and 9, 1945, respectively, with the consent of the United Kingdom, as required by the Quebec Agreement. The two bombings killed between 129,000 and 226,000 people, most of whom were civilians and remain the only use of nuclear weapons in armed conflict. In the final years of World War II, and the Allies prepared for a very costly invasion of the Japanese mainland, this undertaking was preceded by the conventional and firebombing campaign which devastated 67 Japanese cities. The war in Europe had concluded when Germany signed its instrument of surrender on May 8, 1945, and the Allies turned their full attention to the Pacific theater. The Allies called for the unconditional surrender of the Imperial Japanese Armed Forces in the Potsdam Declaration on July 26, 1945, the alternative being prompt and utter destruction. Japan ignored the ultimatum and the war continued. U.S. Airways Flight 1549 was an Airbus A320 which, in the climate after takeoff from New York City's LaGuardia Airport on January 15, 2009, struck a flock of Canada's geese just northeast of the George Washington Bridge and consequently lost all engine power, unable to reach any airport. Pilots Jesse Schallenberger and Jeffrey Skiles glided the plane to a ditching in the Hudson River of Midtown Manhattan. All 155 people aboard were rescued by Navy boats, and there were few serious injuries. The accident came to be known as the Miracle on the Hudson, and the National Transportation Safety Board officials described it as the most successful ditching in aviation history. The board rejected the notion that the pilot could have avoided ditching by returning to LaGuardia or diverting to nearby Teterboro Airport. The pilots and the flight attendants were awarded the Master's Medal of the Guild of Air Pilots and Air Navigator in recognition of their heroic and unique aviation achievement. 9/11 attacks. The September 11 attacks struck the nation on a clear, late summer morning on the East Coast. Hijackers used jet airliners as weapons and rammed them into New York City World Trade Center and the Pentagon. One hijacked plane crashed in a field outside Shanksville, Pennsylvania. In all, 2,977 were killed. As New York City's Mayor Rudy Giuliani said, 5 hours after the attacks began, the number of casualties will be more than any of us can bear. Ultimately, militants associated militants associated with the Islamic extremist group Al-Qaeda hijacked four airlines on 9/11. Flight 11 hit the North Tower of the World Trade Center. Flight 175 crashed into the South Tower. The South Tower collapsed at 9:59 a.m. Less than an hour after being hit, the North Tower fell at 10:28 a.m., causing the massive damage to the rest of the complex and nearby buildings. In all, 2,595 people inside and near the towers were killed, along with the 157 people who were aboard the flight. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 13th President of the United States, was assassinated on November 22, 1963 at 20:30 p.m. Central Standard Time in Dallas, Texas, while riding in a presidential motorcade through Dealey Plaza. Kennedy was riding with his wife, Jacqueline, Texas Governor John Connally, and Connally's wife, Nellie. when he was finally fatally shot by former U.S. Marine Lee Harvey Oswald, firing in ambush from a nearby building. Governor Connolly was seriously wounded in the attack. The motorcade rushed to the Parkland Memorial Hospital, where President Kennedy was pronounced dead about 30 minutes after the shooting. Connolly recovered. Oswald was arrested by the Dallas Police Department 7 minutes after the initial shooting. Oswald was charged under Texas state law with the murder of Kennedy, as well as that of the Dallas policeman J.D. Tippit, who had been fatally shot a short time after assassination at 7:21 a.m. November 24, 1963, as, as live television cameras were covering his transfer from the city jail to the country jail. Oswald was fatally shot in the basement of Dallas Police headquarters by Dallas nightclub operator Jack Ruby. Oswald was taken to Parkland Memorial Hospital, where he soon died. Ruby was convicted of Oswald's murder, though it was later overturned on appeal, and Ruby died in prison in 1967 while awaiting a new trial.